Really?
Enroll. One at a time.
They should stand wherever they like. Yeah.
One at a time. All around it. One at a time. She's not gonna wear a mask. I've already explained it all to them. They said fine, but they came later. You can stand up there. You can stand in the doorway.
Yeah.
You can stand in the doorway.
Just, well, yeah, one, you speak right here at the door if you like. Okay. Wow.
Well, I mean, the whole point is to have everybody sit the mask to 25.
That's an occupancy, our world is upside down. That's just, it's just where we're at these days. Well, regardless. So if you'd like to speak, you can have 2 minutes, and it's entirely up to you. So.
Okay. I kind of feel like my words aren't being heard. Like nobody gives a shit as to what we're talking about as far as unmuzzling our kids. It's not about health anymore. It's about control. That's all it's about. And I understand that you guys say your hands are tied, but that's bullshit too. Because it takes someone with a backbone to stand up for our children. And if you guys aren't going to listen to us, then the children are going to start standing up. And then what? Then what do we do? You're going to start kicking hundreds of kids out of school because they don't want to wear a mask. They don't want to be muzzled. That's what I'm trying to understand. It's not political science, because I can drive 8 hours across the state and there's nothing. There's nothing. They're banning this shit. Excuse my language. I'm sorry. So that's confusing to me as to, because we're a blue state, we're under mandates, but which is not law. It's just a mandate. It's not a law. But I can go across the state 8 hours and there's nothing. I just request that we give our kids a choice. Let them have a choice. If they want to wear a mask, let them wear a mask. If they don't want to wear a mask, then they don't have to wear a mask. They're not at risk. They're at more risk for getting in a car accident on their way to school than they are of dying of COVID. A 0.08% chance. They are the least at risk and they're the most masked people of the whole of everybody. Basically, the kids are going to get sick, and it's going to happen because you're breathing in your own body's waste. If we want to talk about science, we breathe in oxygen, and we breathe out carbon dioxide. So you're breathing in your body's waste all day long. So these kids are going to get sick. Everybody's going to get sick. And I can tell you how to stop COVID. By stop getting tested for every runny nose and every fucking sore throat. Excuse my language. Sorry.
That's 2 minutes.
And another way to stop COVID is turn off the television. It just lies to you. That's all they do.
Awesome. All right. Thank you. Thanks for coming.
Okay. We'll get to the next one. Sorry.
You want us to take turns?
Oh, is it?
Amy.
Oh, Amy.
Here, I'll get Amy.
All right, Amy, you're up. So you can come into the master, you can do the same thing for your life. I'm going to give Tyler an email. The link's not working apparently. YouTube
The
link.
email didn't work. Okay.
Oh, the link did. Oh, okay. It's just the link in the email wasn't working right. So, all right, the floor is yours, Model.
Okay. So I'm Amy Model. I want a policy question answered or addressed on nepotism in the school district and whether or not is your policy to allow somebody's spouse on an interview board. That maybe you could answer by the end of today. That would be fabulous. Vaccination rights, again, I'm going to tell you guys, whether you want them or not, please contact onewashington.com. Please contact March for Freedom, WA every vaccine they require in order to let your kids go to school. I want to talk on masks for a second, and I'm going to tell you that cloth masks are less effective. You are allowing these kids to go to school in their homemade cloth see-through masks that are doing nothing. So if you really believe masks work, why aren't they in KN95s all day? You're going to have that accommodation for the teachers that don't want to get vaccinated. Put them in a face shield, for crying out loud. You're talking about social emotional learning for children, for little kids. Get your teachers in a face shield. Get your kids in a face shield, a see-through one where you can still respond to human emotion, facial recognition, and other things. You guys banned hoods and hats in this district for I don't know how long because you couldn't see the kid's face. What the heck are you doing with the mask then? Why? What is this about? It's fear, you guys. This is fear and obedience. Reichdahl said he expected the obedience out of each and every one of you to follow this mandate. If you stood up, if you just stood up for logic and what makes sense, you would see through all of what is happening. Like she said, it's only in the blue states. I hate to politicize it, but that's where it's happening. Wake up. Wake up.
Thank you. All right, come on up. Hello, go ahead. The floor is yours.
I need to breathe. You have no right to cover my face and restrict my breath.
I'm literally not disrupting the class. I'm just breathing freely. You can't expel me just for breathing, so.
I have the right to breathe freely. We all do. You have no proof that any of this is for us is contagious.
I'm young and healthy, not afraid of being sick. Stop trying to make us scared. I'm not going to live in fear.
People get sick all the time. It's part of life. COVID has over a 99% survival rate. My body, my choice. My parents have helped me assess the right risk.
You're ruining my childhood experience because you guys are scared wearing masks and I'm supposed to be. Your fear doesn't mean I have to forfeit my freedom.
I do not consent. I will not allow you to restrict my breath. I am not going to leave. I'm here to learn. Please teach me.
Your need for control is kind of shocking. Your behavior is aggressive and intimidating. I feel like you're threatening me or harassing me for wanting to breathe.
If you keep trying to force a mask on my face, I'm going to report you. I need to breathe. You're trying to restrict my breathing. That's child abuse.
Trying to force me in an act that's unnatural, uncomfortable, and an unhealthy way. What you're doing is not right, trying to forcefully make us put masks on.
I have my parents' permission not to listen or put on a mask. It's dehumanizing. I will not put on a mask back on. You have no right to make me.
I can do this all day, every day. I'm just breathing and here to learn. The solution is simple. Just start teaching. Like, me and my brother got kicked out of school today for not wearing masks, and I just want to learn. I was pretty excited to go to school, but not now since I have to have this thing on my face.
Thank you, lady. All right, Brad, the floor is yours.
All right, I'll just follow along with what everybody else has been doing. Don't start my time.
No.
All right, so I'm Brad Holt. Back in May, it was requested that we get some hardcore numbers on what it would look like if we were to quote unquote buck the system. To this date, nobody's been given numbers. We had an attorney or somebody show up and give us a bunch of fear mongering, but he never gave any solid numbers on what that would look like if certain funding was withheld. We're still waiting on those numbers, and we're in September now. That was back in May. So we would request those numbers to be put out there. What would it look like if we bucked the system? Okay. Another thing, I was told today that I have an angry mob. That's not the case. We're not angry. Okay, it's not a mob. It's not a posse. It's simply concerned citizens that are worried about our children. That's it. I told you guys in May that we did not want to fight you. We wanted to work with you. We wanted to help you. And that still stands today, which is why now we're coming back. We're saying, what's the number? What does it look like? We've still never gotten that answer. Okay? Mr. Gary, Superintendent, I have not called you yet regarding those ESSER funds. I wanted to be known when I sent that email. It was not to call anybody out or even make an assumption. I was simply going off of what was being spewed all over social media. As a matter of fact, what I wanted to do was kill that fire because I don't believe what was being put out there. And that's part of me wanting to help you. Okay, but I just need that answer on where, if they're tied to compliance or not. It's a pretty simple question. I read it, I don't think it is, but I want to let you guys know we're not an angry mob. We're not here to try to fight you, but we will if we need to because we are concerned parents. I know most of you are. Okay, but we need that number. That number since May has not been given out. That's what we need. We need to know what the damage would be. So I would appreciate it, and a bunch of other people appreciate it if we could just get the number. Not fear mongering, not an attorney telling us fear, 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 but a solid number, math. What does it look like if Chris Reichdahl tomorrow said your funding's cut off? Let us know what that is. Let us help you with that.
Can I work with you to get an email response to that tomorrow? Yeah.
Thank you.
We'll email you tomorrow.
All right, thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Brett. Okay. Yeah. That's everybody. Okay. You're closing the door on people.
I know.
I know.
Thanks for finding a compromise.
That was a good idea.
Okay,
Yeah.
it was a good idea.
Okay. Is Mr. Fisher online? Move on to Maintenance Facilities Annual Report.
Hey, good evening, guys. Excited to, can you hear me all right?
Yes.
Yes, we can.
Perfect. Yeah, so, it's been probably 2 years since we've been able to do this, so I'm excited to talk to you about maintenance and like normal stuff rather than COVID. So I only have one slide about COVID, and then that's it. So let me go ahead and present my screen here. Whoops. Let's see. All right, so you guys should see a nice orange slide there. Is that up on your screen? Perfect. All right, so I just wanted to start by kind of telling you who our team is. So we have a pretty good custodial team, a phenomenal custodial team. At our high school, we have Gail Schumacher and Christy Meinhoff, who've been there for a number of years. And this year, we're actually transitioning to a new custodian that will be half-time at the high school and the middle school. And we're hoping to hire that person next week. So really excited to see who that's going to be and get them on board. At the middle school, we have Carrie Johnson, Eatonville L, Daisy Aguilar-Payton, and Cheryl Schockler, who splits her time at Weyerhaeuser as well. Speaking of, Weyerhaeuser disappeared from my screen. But Rena Aguilar has been just a great custodian out there. She does a ton of our training with our subs and new employees. She does a phenomenal job out at Weyerhaeuser. At Columbia Crest, we have Mike Wick, and then there's Weyerhaeuser. Rena Aguilar and Cheryl Schockler are the team out there as well. In maintenance and grounds, we have Taylor Bassnelli, Veronica Gonzalez, and Neil Kerr, who's our halftime electrician. Taylor and Veronica have been on the team for several years in different roles, and in the last few years have moved over to the maintenance side. And then in our grounds team, we recently hired a new young man named Caleb Young, who splits his time between grounds and part-time maintenance. And my lead groundskeeper is David Hill and Malou Cummins, and their work is really it proves itself. We just have some phenomenal grounds and facilities. And then in the office staff, we have our secretary Tammy Gebhardt, and of course myself as the manager. I think that's really important to kind of just acknowledge those folks publicly and let them know that they're appreciated. So I just want to take a moment to do that today. Moving into just modernizing maintenance. I've been in this role for about 6 years now, and we've done a lot to bring us back into the 21st century. 2 years ago, we brought in mobile devices for our maintenance and ground staff, which has been just a great tool. We also do Chromebooks for all of our custodial staff now. Wireless technology, you'll see we're trying to make a migration to wireless thermostats in our portables that we can send out schedules and holiday updates and be able to remotely diagnose issues, and hopefully we can make a few clicks and changes rather than having to send a technician out to the field, hopefully saving time and money. We've switched to Fresh Service, which is actually IT brought us there. Fresh Service replaced School Dude as our work order management system. And it has been just a phenomenal product for us. One of the biggest things is now because it's app-based, my team can actually get on and they can see the work orders rather than me having to go out and assign them all the time. They see the work orders and go, oh, that, in fact, today was a great example of warmer at Eatonville High School went down. By the time I got a chance to respond to it, it had been 2 hours, and I called the cook and I said, hey, do you still need someone down there? And they said, oh no, your people just left like 30 minutes ago. And so it's really great that they were able to get that notification and they just go straight to it, and it doesn't get bottlenecked in the office. Inventory management, we've had a hard time with that over the years, but this new system helps us with our surplus, with inventory. It has the ability to help us decide value and determine that. So that way when we go to an end of life cycle for our equipment, whether it's a maintenance piece of device or an HVAC unit, or even the computer in your classroom, we can determine that value and sell it for a fair price. And then also it just warns us, hey, it's time to be looking at this piece of equipment. It might be time to replace it. So really excited about that. We've begun using their preventative maintenance side this year. So now we have some schedules in place that on an annual basis or twice a year or even on a monthly basis, these work orders auto-generate, and it gives us step-by-step instructions and what tools and parts you may need. So that's been really helpful for our team. The next piece of this, you guys are aware, a few years ago we switched over community use for our facility use. So now our facility use folks, the junior cruiser wrestling, junior cruiser football, EYSA swim, soccer, basketball, church groups, anyone can take and fill out their facility use request online, which has really been an awesome communication tool that we've been utilizing and streamlining that process with. The next piece is we're also working on implementing our project and event management. So, there's a lot that goes into May Day or homecoming or the first football game of the year. And so our goal is to really kind of put those in just like we would a preventative maintenance work order. And so we're beginning to build that this year. And we're sitting down once a month with kind of our immediate team and saying, all right, what events do we have coming up in September? And so we don't have to reinvent the wheel every single year when we get to the new season. And then probably one of the things that I just am really most excited about, and you're going to see that the team is really what makes me really excited about my job these days. And with Google integration, we've been able to expand our use of technology to become a better team. For example, I am not the chair of, but I facilitate the safety committee for the district for employee safety. During this pandemic, we've had to rely on Google Meet a lot, just like we're doing today. And that wasn't an option previously, right? So now that we have this technology and we're familiar with it, we've been able to not only work as a safety committee district-wide at 3 o'clock when the bus drivers couldn't be there, but now they can. Or a staff member from Columbia Crest representing their staff. It just gives us a lot more flexibility. With my own custodial staff, no principal wants to be without their custodian throughout the day. With Google Meets, it's been phenomenal because we can take and say, hey, they're going to be off and they're going to go into their custodial office and they're going to be on this meeting for the next 30 minutes, but they're still on site. So if you have an emergency, they can support you. So that's been really exciting for us this year as well. Beyond that, my staff has learned how to use Google Drive, Docs, Sheets. They've all become familiar with that, which has just made our jobs a whole lot more efficient, and we can spend more time doing what we need to get to. One of the things I'm really excited about, and I wanted to just share this with the board, and I want to say thank you for your support in this. But last year, we actually hired a coach, a leadership coach for myself. His name was Doug Nathan, phenomenal coach. I would recommend him to anyone in the world. But we're also working with him on our team building. And so we actually invested heavily last year in the month of June. And we took 3 days over 3 weeks. And my team came together for 6 hours in each of those, 3 hours in each of those meetings, and spent some time really diving into how to become a better team. And so we're continuing that work. It's something that's going to always be in the forefront of making sure we're doing what we need to do for the district, is being a strong team. The other exciting things that we're working on is occupational training. Also, a great thing that happened in the pandemic is training has become a lot more available to people in our rural communities. You used to have to go to Tacoma for locksmith classes. Now you can do those online. So one of my maintenance folks has really taken on that locksmithing job, and so he's actually going to be going through that course this winter, and we're really excited about that. And then kind of going back to the Google thing, just spending that time with our team and bringing them together is super important. And as you see my staff, you're going to see that they are working really hard to be a strong team so we can serve the community. A couple of projects I just wanted to highlight tonight, and this is not exhaustive, but on the top picture, you'll see the after of Columbia Crest A-STEM Academy. And then on the bottom picture is the before. So a few years ago, as you'll recall, we put a new roof on that building. And this year we spent a couple of weeks painting, and really modernizing and making that building look a lot better, but not only making it better looking, making sure that our siding's not rotting, all that good stuff. So now I want to be very straightforward with you. If you drive up, then you drive around the back, we're not finished. We still got some work to do, but I don't want to sugarcoat this at all. So it was a really great project for my team, and they're very proud of it. At the elementary schools this year, we got back onto our parking lot striping cycle. So every 2 years, the goal is to do the elementary schools 1 year, high school, middle school the next year. At Columbia Crest this year, we've also taken and replaced a large section of flat roofing. So this building really is, as an envelope, in phenomenal shape. Let's see here. Okay, so this is the one COVID slide. As we continue to go through the pandemic, my department has really stepped up in a lot of ways. So we take care of a lot of the protocols. I make sure that the district and the principals are feeling supported, and know what is expected to keep staff and students safe. Our support staff, we support our staff and students in our day-to-day operations. You know, in the last week, I think we have moved more desks probably than I've ever seen moved in the time I've been with the district, just to try and ensure that we have enough space for all the kids and they're spaced out and not sharing too many objects, that kind of stuff. The custodial staff, I just want to give them a huge kudos here because they have worked super hard to make sure that our schools are safe and healthy by utilizing safe practices with cleaning and disinfection. Like I spoke with you guys last year, we also are committed to not overdoing it with disinfectants. We know that that's harmful for our environment, for students, for staff. So that is definitely a priority for us. And then the last thing I want to say about COVID is now that we're reopening to our kids, we also think it's important to reopen to our community. So over the summer, we have allowed outdoor community use, and we have also gone ahead and worked with some of our junior cruiser low risk activities. For example, cheerleading has been able to come into our facilities during certain events. And then as we roll into these fall and winter months, we're working to put protocols in place to open back up to our church groups and our other sport groups as well that will be using the facilities indoors. There we go. So then I just want to leave you with this. Our goals for the 21-22 school year. I want to talk about capital projects. I'm very excited about Mr. Neal being on board. He has me excited about some projects that we're looking at. We actually applied for a solar grant a few weeks ago, and I'm very hopeful, wishful that we are going to be able to get this solar grant for Eatonville High School and be able to install, I believe it's a 75 kW system, which will bring us closer in line with what the state is mandating for our energy usage. We're working on expanding our organizational systems. We have a lot of really great tools in place. We have a lot of great systems in place, but we have room for growth there. So we're working on those. And then staff development. If you come and visit with me, that is going to be honestly my most exciting thing. I saw the power of staff development this last year, and I want to continue down that road and build our team stronger and better for our community and our schools. So that is what I have. If you have any questions, I'd love to answer those for you.
Anybody?
That's very well.
Looks like no questions, John. That was very thorough. I'm glad you're liking the new work order system. It sounds like that's going to be a big plus. So
Yeah.
Very cool. I think we're all squared away.
Perfect. Thank you, guys.
All right, thank you, John.
Thanks, John. Thank you, John, and to your staff.
Okay, we'll move on to the second reading then of the social emotional policy by Kristen.
I heard you guys had some questions for me. I'm just here to answer them.
Right. That's just what we have to call them.
We have to call it second meeting.
Well, I guess my question would be, this is not, this is something that was just put forward by WASDA. It's not something that's being brought forward by you or by anybody else. This is because at the bottom it says it's just an encouraged by WASDA.
Okay.
Or is this something that you guys have brought to us? I guess that's my wondering.
We're already doing this work.
That's what
Yeah.
That's my assumption we're doing it.
Yeah.
So I didn't know if you were requesting a policy for a purpose or if it's just.
No.
Okay.
Do you feel the need
Yes.
for a policy?
Yeah, I do.
I think that's one of our hangups is we
Okay.
just
Yeah, we didn't
hate
know.
adding policy
It almost,
just for the sake of
this almost
adding
infers
policy.
that there's an issue. And I was thinking a lot of this work is already happening.
I mean, all the work on the bottom about, we're doing the cycle, the planning, the prep, the action, we're doing all of that.
So then how would you visualize this committee that needs to be brought forward, the school climate?
So there's a committee in each one of the buildings now that is working on social emotional learning and just climate. If the counselors are involved, the building principals are involved, so all of that's already happening.
So it's counselors,
So our mental health PLC, and I oversee them. So they're doing a lot of this work. They work with Heidi, like with the healthy youth surveys, all of that. All of that is tied into finding out what our kids need and then putting plans in place for those.
okay, so then having to do the planning, evaluation, action plan implementation, and then reporting isn't going to be an additional burden because this is an annual report.
It's not an additional burden, like when the mental health comes and presents to you, this is what they would be reporting to you on.
Okay.
Yep.
that was my big curiosity, is like.
That's fine.
Why
I
is
mean,
it coming
they
forward?
did, you know, Preston brought it back to me and said they had questions. I'm like, and they are what? So I just didn't know what the questions were, so, yeah.
Well, it was just, you know, and I agree with Ron and Jeff too, it just, you know, we just don't want policy for policy. So
Oh,
we
absolutely.
want to know that it's good policy, we want to know it's effective policy and that it works.
Yeah.
You know. And
I mean, we're gonna do the work
It has a
regardless.
purpose, right?
Yeah.
It's not just.
Because it is tied into pretty much everything we're doing with inclusionary practices and UDL and everything we do. I mean, it is all embedded. The MTSS process, all of it, it's all embedded together.
Yeah, it seems like it's overlapping policies.
Yeah, it
Many
is.
others at this point, but it's just it's one more report. And
Right.
one more oversight for you to have to deal with, so.
Well, and the mental health people come and report to you yearly anyways. I mean, obviously last year they didn't, but I do have them come report to you. So, I mean, it would be tied right into that.
Those are my questions.
Okay.
I don't have to appreciate, you know, your insight.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Put into it. Like I say, we just don't want policy for policy.
I would agree with that,
We
absolutely.
don't need to make more work for
We have
someone who's
enough
so very
policy.
busy.
So are we comfortable bringing that to a vote, or?
I am.
Okay. All right, then, let's see. Then I would send a motion to approve social emotional policy 3112 as presented.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Seeing and hearing none, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please signify by saying no. Okay,
And
motion
can I
passes.
just ask one question with it? When would you like them to report to you? Like, do you want them to do it at the end of the year? Like,
I think at this point, a new report would probably get shoehorned in where there's room for it.
okay, so like, what about like right in January, maybe
I was gonna
mid-year?
say,
Like after
probably
school's
mid-year,
been going
I
for a
think
little
would be
bit
good.
and stuff, is that okay with you guys? Cause, you know, I'm gonna meet with them this week, so
Yeah,
I
because
can
then,
give them a
you know,
heads
you'd
up.
have an idea of how things are going
Okay.
and,
Well,
you know.
I guess, and I would be curious, I mean, it says here we need a framework and benchmarks and blah, blah, blah. So if you could present that to us in January, that would be fantastic.
Okay, perfect, you got it. Okay, yep.
Sounds good.
Excellent, thank you, Kristen.
Thank you so much.
Okay, we'll move on to new business, considering the approval of the school district Borough capital facilities plan, period 21 to 26, in accordance with my favorite growth management act. So, you know, I mean, reading through this,
John's gone.
it's
Yeah.
it's not really, that's just something you have to do every 5 years for the growth management act. Yeah, oh, there's John.
There's John.
There we go.
Here he is.
You do a lot better job than I can.
Oh, I don't know about that. Yeah, so our capital facilities plan has to be annually updated. There has to be a 5-year overall plan, but on an annual basis, you guys have to take a look at it and make sure you guys are happy with it. But the overview of the capital facilities plan is really meeting our goals as a district, trying to make sure that we have the space for our students and our programs, and then taking and giving it to the county and to local jurisdictions, which this is what qualifies us to be able to collect impact fees. Now they have an approval process, Pierce County's approval process. Basically, this goes with all the other districts, and they generally review it and then adopt it. And then our other jurisdiction is the town of Eatonville. Unfortunately, when we approached them last year, they were not interested in setting up a agreement to collect impact fees for new homes and apartments in our community. So, but this is the plan that we have to submit to be able to qualify and show there is a need for these fees.
So John, can you help me out? I was reading through this earlier and now I can't find it because I'm scrolling. Tell me what it is that you're anticipating in 5 years growth that we will have the need for additional, I saw like an add-on to the middle school and a new elementary. Is that what I read?
Yeah, so this is it's interesting when you read
Like
through
that's
these.
for 5 years from now.
Yeah, so I can assure you, we don't really plan on building a new elementary school in the next 5 years.
Okay, because I'm thinking that's a bond issue I'm not ready to tackle.
Yeah, so what this plan does is it reviews what we expect enrollment to look like and what we expect our funding to look like. And then it lays out some different scenarios and options that are pretty standardized throughout the state. And to be honest, we don't really come up with those scenarios. We work with a consultant who creates this narrative, I guess is how you put that. So this doesn't lock us into anything like that. In fact, this year we've actually used for the first time our impact fees to convert 2 computer labs into regular gen ed classrooms. So that way we can facilitate learning that is different than what it used to be, because now we don't have computer labs and our need for computer labs being one-to-one, but we did need more space for our students to be able to be served appropriately.
So basically and I have to just say, okay, so I'm putting on my private industry, right, contractor, developer hat. $17,000 per house, that's a significant impact fee.
Absolutely. So those calculations are based on a formula that the state law allows. And this is not what will be approved through the county. The county caps it, I believe, at about $5,000 per home, and then 7 for multifamily, I do believe.
Well, it's 17 for individual homes and then like 3,000 for multifamily right now, which I thought was interesting also. So
Gotcha. I think that's per unit.
okay, it didn't specify, so. Okay.
Yeah, and so that, like I said, it's the calculation. It's not what the county actually allows. So I don't, is Krista in the room or no?
No.
All right, so that's the side of the house I'm not very good at. But the county it's about half as much as what we actually put into this calculation the county approves generally.
And John, I had a question about the Scap funding, matching funds, and I read in there, did I read it right, that we're not even eligible for any Scap funding?
That's correct, I do believe.
Perfect.
At this point, yeah.
Yeah, if I can add to that, so the state matching fund is tied to a successful construction bond. So that's where that money comes into play. If we don't have a successful construction bond, we can't access state matching money, which is based on our square footage and how much square footage we have compared to what the OSBI says we are designated, and it changes. The square footage for elementaries is smaller because they're smaller, and then the middle school kids, their square footage goes up, and the high school age kids, it's like 9 square feet per kid. I can't recall off the top of my head, but you add all those numbers up with our enrollment, multiplied by those numbers with the algorithms that go along with it, and that the state says, well, here's how much square footage in total space you should have, not just our classrooms, so all of our buildings that we have. And then they say that if you have a successful construction bond, here is the matching money we pay, kind of like a merge. We pay the difference between what's missing and what you should. That's what the state matching money is.
Sounds like you've done something with capital projects before.
I've seen that happen a couple times.
So last question, there's a window on these funds. How much time do we have to spend the money that we get?
I believe the limit is 10 years to utilize these funds, and then they have to go back to whoever paid them. So if it was a developer or a homeowner, it might go back to them.
Any other questions from anybody? Then let's see. So in the absence of any more questions, I would consider a motion to approve the capital facilities plan for the years 2021 to 2026.
So moved. Second.
Okay, moved and seconded. Any further discussion?
She'll have more.
None of it seems real. It's like,
I just write the check, I'm writing a check.
yeah, it's just like a dream, you know, it's kind of like, okay, it's out there to dream and we'll pass it.
Yeah.
That's correct. Yeah, right. Okay, any further discussion? All right, and all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, please signify by saying no. Okay, plan is passed. Thank you, John. Okay, so we will move on to essential policy changes from WASDA,
Why did I say essential?
because they're mandated in law, pretty much.
Yeah, in order to be compliant with law.
So,
I would
But
like,
I put there because I only gave you the essential ones this
Right.
time.
I
Next
see.
time I'll bring in the ones that we already have that
Yeah.
aren't, you know.
So,
I have to.
They've been tweaking.
we can, you know, if there's something that's in here that we think we would like to address, we can address it, take it to our legal, come back.
yeah, you can always do that. I mean,
We need
The
to
first one-
meet the constraints of the law.
yeah, 1822 is to meet the new legal requirement for board member required trainings. 3 of them alone deal just with fines and transcripts.
Yeah. Just in with
I
the-
saw that.
Yeah, but
Yeah, I read through all of them.
another,
I would
Good
like
job, it
to,
looks like.
put, number 8, just hold it back for, make that a first reading.
Sure.
And, yes,
Me too.
Is that 5515?
yes, 5515, we'll keep it a first reading,
I would too.
because it's a new policy,
Yeah,
give,
right, I can do
everybody
that.
some chance to dig in.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, personally,
Rest of them.
I didn't,
The rest of them were existing with some alterations.
Yeah.
my only grief is the billing ones, you know, the fines and transcripts. I mean, that was legislation asked for by the State Board of Community and Technical Colleges, and it just seems like it's a customer grab for them at our expense. And, but they got it into law, so there you go. Yeah, the rest of it I can live with. So, so excluding 8 for a second reading, I would consider a motion to approve WASDA policies 1 through 7 on the agenda as presented.
So moved.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Seeing and hearing none, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, please signify by saying no. Okay, motion passes. We will put 5515 up for a second reading. And Mr. Neal, I'll let you make some superintendent comments this time.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Forgot this the last meeting.
That's all right, it's all good. It's all good. Yeah,
You should write this down for me or something.
a new cycle since then. So kind of a report on first day of school and how that went. And so I went around each school and got to know the principals. I wanted to see a couple things, how things were rolling. Did they have enough staffing? What were their numbers look like? And I was also interested in how the busing went, transportation, I should say. And so all those things I just listed are pretty solid as of today. And so the student enrollment is, as you well know, there's a 4-day count that we do, and that then kind of tells us where we're at, if we're overstaffed or understaffed, and we kind of move along through there. So the interesting thing is that some of our neighboring districts, their kindergartners are below the numbers that they were expecting. For us, they're actually level or a little bit higher in some cases. So that's kind of a great indicator
It's good.
of things to come, because those kids, you know, and once they're there, they tend to stay in the size community. So that was great news. All of the numbers were really solid. There wasn't any trends that made me kind of go, boy, we need to start making phone calls and find out where people are. So So again, it's just the first day, but that is, that's a good thing. Our transportation, it was, the hiccup was, it was all hands on deck, meaning that people that normally man and woman the office had to drive, because we didn't have enough drivers.
They've been doing that.
That's always been.
Been that way for a long time.
So
Never had enough.
the hiccup is that some parents had some concerns or questions, and they called transportation, and no one was there to take the phone. So that's the problem that I'm looking at a solution that'll be short-term and long-term. So we'll discuss that when the time comes, right? But I think I have a plan on how we can maybe shore that up a little bit more. We have, as of last week, we have 13 new applications for bus drivers. Wow, which is phenomenal. So we should have those. We're gonna have everything filled again. We have 3 people that all they are waiting for is their fingerprints, which is 2 weeks behind statewide. But the good news is that 121, ESD 121, their superintendent knows that there's such a demand for fingerprints that he's okayed for some overtime for their fingerprint department to go past their normal hours to try to get some of this excess taken care of. And so that will help. So all they need are their fingerprints and or their CDL training. And so that's a bugaboo because it's difficult finding people that are available to help train these folks, which is about 80 hours per person to get trained.
Do we have CDL training here?
Well, we do. The one person is also the secretary for transportation and driving buses for us.
Exactly.
So again, that's when I said, wait a second, we're shortchanging ourselves here. So we're stepping on our own toes. That's why, in a short period of time, I'm having a proposal of how I think we can circumvent that so we can have our trainer ready to start training people.
Good.
So anyway, we have 3 people that are just waiting for that stuff. They're ready to go. Their paperwork's in. They've done everything they're supposed to do. They're in state control. So what Clay and I discussed was in the interim, we could hire those 3 folks as substitute drivers. They can't drive the bus, but they could drive our vans. And then take 3 or 4 kids. That, every little bit helps, right?
Right. So
we're trying to figure out how we can route that and put that together. And I think we're pretty close to getting that taken care of. This morning, we got a Puget Sound ESD superintendent meeting. And busing strategies was the big question. What are people doing? How are we going about this? It's just, you guys know the drill. There's just no bus drivers. And so we need to start getting creative because pre-pandemic, what you would do is you would combine routes. And so you would have buses just loaded with kids. Well, now pandemic and the spacing, that strategy doesn't work. But we have to figure out some other ways. And there's some things out there. But again, I think we might be able to insert some staff members, part-time staff members to help shore up our busing needs as far as getting people certified. Is that my time?
No, sorry, I forgot to turn off the alarm after the timer.
Who else is up? Okay. Food service is a problem nationwide right now. And I kind of get impartial when I think, well, yeah, the large districts are getting their food services. It's just the other way around. They're not receiving the food that they need to move things on. And again, this is a nationwide thing. We had, so Friday of last week, Terry reported to me from food service that we had enough food for 3 days. So luckily, 3 days for us is Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. But since then, we've had some service that was delivered today.
And we're feeding all kids right now.
Yes. So that we're moving along, but in some districts they're in a lot of trouble. Enrollment, I kind of chatted about that, where it's all over the board. There's some districts where enrollment was looks good, some are stable, some are low. Ours is a good trajectory, so we're preaching.
So what are they doing, and forgive me if I've forgotten the timing on this, but usually we have a day that they count kids on the bus. Is that this first week or is that October?
That's
October, okay, all right. And,
So the ridership.
yeah, and are there gonna be COVID considerations around that?
Well, that was part of the discussion as well as what's the stabilization that they're gonna have to adjust for that. And luckily, I think the state is gonna continue that from last year.
That was my understanding. Rick Bell said that we'll get last year's number. They'll move that across.
That's big, because you're right. I mean, our buses would be probably half capacity of what they would normally be.
Right, and at 100% efficiency, we still, there's still a huge deficit, so that would be.
100% efficiency, we're still $600 grand underfunded.
We didn't make the grant, but I'm still.
Mercer Island needed it more than we needed.
Ooh, they're,
Mercer Island.
Oh, yeah.
they're 13 square miles,
Transportation
man, that'll kill them.
Sorry, it's your comments.
Yeah, don't get us started.
Unfortunately, yeah, don't get
I
started.
don't know, that's something you guys can say it. So that's a big deal. So anyway, that's the end of my report.
Highlighter time.
Sorry about that.
Okay, any board comments tonight?
Yeah, I got a couple things. First off, from what I hear, for the most part, school started off great. I'm excited about that. Excited that everybody was apprehensive and there was a lot of fears and concerns, and hopefully that are less tough many in the benefit. I was happy about that. And one thing I've had some community members mention the highly capable, and they like having it at Columbia Crest because it provides outdoor activities and the connection with the park service people that can, help kids with learning other things. And, it has some unique opportunities. And there was some asks about if they were gonna have, if their students were gonna be able to participate in a highly capable this year. And if there was gonna be any way of getting kids involved, how, there's testing or something that's usually done in the fall.
Correct.
No.
It is not, you're
No.
saying correct, they're saying no.
Testing is done in the spring for the following year. So the kids that tested in last spring are the ones that are in program this school year. We will open up referrals in January, and then we'll test in the spring for the following school year.
Okay, but didn't we test in the fall last year?
We screen kids in the fall, and then we move them into the testing cycle in the spring. So if they pass the screening at a certain level, then we move them into the full battery of the assessment in the spring for fall.
So we're gonna screen,
Yep, we screen 2nd through 5th grade, all of them,
okay, when do we do that?
December.
What do we do about the kids that move
If
into
they
the
move in
district?
and they've been in program, they join program.
So if they come from a program, they go
Yep.
to a program.
Yep.
And then what about our kids wondering, because families had to make a commitment last year if they were gonna go virtual, online school, or if they were gonna do homeschooling, they had to commit for the whole year. So those families didn't get to come back. So how do we accommodate any of those families? I don't know if there are any, but if there are any of those families, because I'm just curious what that looks like, because obviously they're not gonna be they're from our district, but they were homeschooled and didn't have the opportunity to.
Well, once you're qualified into our program, you're always qualified into our program. So there's permission forms every year. Every kid gets a new permission form every year to participate. So if they're back, then they'll get a permission form to participate this year.
So they'll get to those families will get to participate
If they've
this
already
year.
been tested in and they've already qualified, yes.
I just wanted to make sure that they made a commitment and then they were, like, we had stuck them to a commitment and then they didn't.
And those kids last year still could have participated in highly capable because it was all virtual last year.
Awesome.
So, so they had the choice last year to do it virtually too, even if they were homeschooled or anything else. So,
Oh, okay. Yeah, they were just things I didn't understand and, wanted to be sure those are part of each child that we want to be sure that gets their needs met. And sometimes it's a little easy to kind of overlook some
small portions, because they're a small group.
Right.
You know, so they can overlook.
What do we do about our hinders? I'm sorry. She's making me think of different questions. That might be interesting. What do we do about our hinders? Because they're new to our district. Do we test, like if they were
They are
in our
trained
preschool
during the walk kids testing that all kindergartners have
In
their test.
in the fall?
They're doing it right now.
Okay.
They did the first 3 days of school, and then if teachers notice anything during these screenings, then we put them in for like a referral.
Okay. All right. Awesome.
Good, good, that's good to hear. I appreciate that.
Yeah. If anyone has questions, give them my number, tell them to call.
Okay,
Absolutely.
no, we definitely,
Yep.
definitely will, but, you know, just, I didn't know a lot about it, and I wanted to,
Sure.
you know, just ask, so I could at least give them enlightenment. And
Yep, absolutely.
they can, you know, move forward with it. And so I would really do appreciate that, and so, yeah, and I just, you know, really appreciate the solo grant for the high school application. I'm excited to hear how that goes, and I'm also wondering how that's gonna work, you know, in the old building, but, but excited about it, and, just seeing how things are going, and, you know, for the chaotic things that are going on in the world, I think that we're, you know, staff, and I hope all staff understands this, that, you know, we're doing our best to keep as normal and as functional and as meet the needs of every student. And I appreciate everyone doing that. It takes extra effort and extra energy, and I understand that. And, you know, I'm dealing with adults, but when you're dealing with adults, sometimes you're dealing with children. You know? They're just the different heights, and you know. And so understanding that, you know, the stresses that may come, the additional stresses that what's going on in the world is put on us. Just wanna, I appreciate you.
And I want to add to that, just thank you for all the hard work. You guys have been busy all summer, doing all kinds of things, and our teachers, I know that they've got to be coming with some anxiety and just exhaustion from all the preparation and considerations that they have around their students coming back and families and parents. And so, John, to your custodial team and your groundworks team, thank you so much for really putting kids first and doing everything it takes. I can't wait to see Columbia Crest finish being painted. That little, I was going through some of the Facebook posts that all the parents were making their first day of school, and there's this one little piece of brick that's not painted behind some of the Crest kids. I didn't notice that. So I'm looking forward to seeing that finished up. But you guys have done phenomenal work, and I'm just so grateful for everything that you do and continue to do, and will continue throughout this whole COVID craziness that we're. So, yeah. Thank you.
All right. If there's nothing else, we will adjourn to executive session. There will be no action taken afterwards, and I expect it would last about 20 minutes. So.
Thank you.